Welcome to Sales War Chest, everybody. It's so exciting to host Mark McInnes. So the two of us are here today. We've got myself, Mary Crampton from Magnify Consulting, background in sales and new business development. And of particular interest at the moment is that I've twice worked for companies that were probably on the edge of one of them just about going under, and being part of a team that turned that around. So you can do it. It takes hard work, but you can do it. And Mark McInnes, Mark's an expert sales trainer and sales consultant all the way from Sydney, Australia. And Mark, you've had a really awesome background. You've had time in the army and all that amazing discipline and planning and preparation that goes into being part of the military. Seems to have, obviously, we've stopped sharing now because we're introducing ourselves. Oh, here we are. Do that. There we go, next screen. So Mark, you're the author of Tactical Pipeline Growth, because after you finished your time in the military, of course, you went on to have some wonderful success in the business world, and particularly in sales. And I have to admit, I'll stop share now so we can just see ourselves. I was hunting around for a book that we could review for the Magnify Sales Book Club, and I was thinking, people's sales pipelines are in such distress right now. I need to find a book all about sales pipelines because I want to talk more about that. And then I found your book, Mark, which has only just been published. So that was very exciting. So today we're going to be learning more about what is tactical pipeline growth. For some of us, COVID has revealed what we may not have known for the last decade, which is some of us may have been doing marketing and calling it sales. And now is the time where the rubber hits the road. You've actually got to go out there and do good, solid, outbound new business development, and in some cases to save your business. And we hope we can bring some tips today to help with that. Stick around till the end because we hope to have some question and answer time with Mark. So if you're wanting to ask Mark a question, you better hang around till the end. So everybody, look, if you just give us your attention for the next 40 minutes, give yourself this time to focus on your sales pipeline and your sales growth. So you may want to hop off Facebook, switch off emails, switch off any other notifications that get in the way, and give us your full attention. And I guess I'll turn over to Mark by saying, you know, imagine everybody if you woke up and every day you knew that you could keep your sales progressing during this pandemic, however long it goes on for. And if you knew that your actions were contributing to positioning your business for growth on the other side of this, what would that mean for you and for your business? That's what we want to help to deliver today, some tips that are going to help with that. Mark, I'll pass over to you. Welcome.
Mary, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I know how there's many things pulling at everyone's calendars. There's lots of different things we could be doing right now. So very appreciative of your time. And we'll hopefully make it worthwhile for you by giving you some strategies and some tactics that you can, if not use, certainly think about. That's for sure. So Mary, but thank you for inviting me along. It's great to come and talk about prospecting. I'm very passionate about outbound sales activity. I know a lot of people hate it, but crazily, I'm just one of these people who actually like the systems and processes of it and the psychology of it. And I guess it's a bit of, you know, one of those things where the more difficult it is in some respects, the more challenging it is to master. Actually, I don't know that you ever master it because things change so much so quickly. So maybe master is the wrong word, but you know, to feel like you're getting in on top of it, I think is one of those things.
Yeah. I know. I must admit, I don't know if you've got a prophetic gift or something, Mark, but this is a book for our time. And here we are, chapter 2. It might come out round the wrong way because I'm showing it to you on the screen, but change or die. Now, we've all been hearing about being agile and having an agile approach to business, and now we're all really listening, you know. What do you think we should be changing, Mark? What do you think's happening out there?
Well, we should be changing our mind first and foremost, and I think that's really the biggest challenge. And you'll see that, you know, in the book I talk about the 5 pillars of prospecting, and the first pillar, by no mistake, is mindset. So the number one thing that holds us back as sales leaders, as entrepreneurs, or as salespeople, is our mindset about whether we deserve to have a conversation with somebody or not, and then how deliberately we then approach achieving that conversation.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is there's lots of negative hysteria, negative connotations about salespeople in our culture, and
Yes.
my family, my wife's father is 78, still salesman, still selling today, and I've been a salesman all my life. So even in our extended family, actually, and both he and I make the most money out of the extended family by far. And I don't say that to brag, but even in our family, salespeople have got a negative connotation, right? You'd be sitting around at the dinner table and say, "Oh, he's such a." We talk about a particular prime minister, and they might say, "Oh, he's such a snake oil salesman," And so these put down words work on our self-consciousness and make us feel like we're not worthy about, asking somebody for the business or promoting your business or somehow begging for somebody to take you on as for them to become a client, take you on as a supplier, has this negative connotation. And if you have any sense of doubt in your mind about that right to ask, it really impacts you. And the best way, and this was the start of the book, and this may well be your next question. But the reason why the book came about, I was working at TAFE New South Wales, which is a big education organisation here, writing some training content for them.
Yes.
And I came out of a meeting, and I was doing some work with my lawyer, nothing too onerous. And I told him that I was going to be in a meeting all afternoon, so just leave a message and I'll get back to you. And I came out of the meeting, I had a telephone call, text message, email, the whole 9 yards. And at that point, I realised the message that he was having for me, that he was presenting to me, in his mind, was the most important message of the day. So, and it wasn't, but in his mind it was, and that was the point, right? So,
yeah.
And he's a typical lawyer, so he's very full of himself and he's very confident.
Yeah.
And charges a lot of money. So in his mind, whatever I was doing, I should have stopped, answered the phone. When I didn't answer the phone, he sent me a voice message, then he sent me a text message, then he sent me an email. And they all said the same thing. Give me a call when you get out. I've got something important to talk to you. He didn't tell me what it was. And I just looked at these and just laughed and thought, you know what, if I could get my my clients, to have that level of self-belief, none of them would have any problems.
No. Well, what you're doing is you're saying, what I've got to offer you is actually going to really help you, and I don't want you to miss out, and have confidence. Oh, I'll just say as well, everybody, if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat as we're talking. We'll come to them at the end, but if we can incorporate them, we will. Yeah. So you had these messages then, Mark. You had this string of messages. Yeah.
So and that made me realise that that's the way we should be reaching out to start conversations, which is where the whole cadence multi-channel approach sort of came from. Is because I realized that my clients, so the people that I was training in sales, the sales function, I couldn't dare ask them to go telephone, voicemail, text message, email, because they would say, "Oh no, that's spooky, that's spammy," And I realized that right then that it's the mindset that's holding them back. It's not the tools. And so when you say change or die, I think we need to change our mindset, and it's important more now than ever. Simply because our communication tools are broken. Who replies to every email that they get? Certainly not me.
No.
Who listens to emails? I do, because I'm a sales guy. But there's probably a bunch of people on this call that don't listen to every voicemail. And if you're in a buying role, I doubt you listen to every voicemail. So when we look at these sorts of things, email, for example, in APAC, there's the latest HubSpot data out. In April, email volumes are up by 140%. So 140% more emails coming out of the sales function. So just salespeople, not marketing. And response rates off the benchmarks are up 140% total emails sent. Guess what the response were? Below 34%. So more email being sent than ever, less responses. So we know this, like there's 21.3% is the average open rate for emails. 4% response rates. So we know this, right? What's the cold call rate? Lower than that, right? So if we know this, why do we keep using it? Why don't we change our approach?
Yeah, I think so. I think email is very easy. I was having a conversation with a couple of people this week, and one of them, we talked about how you can hide behind emails really well. So you can have some good sales metrics for the month. Look, I've sent all these emails, but how many conversations have you actually had? And off the back of those conversations, how many Zoom or in-person meetings, if you can get in person wherever you are, have you actually had as a result? Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm not sure whether this is a worldwide thing, but I know here in New Zealand, sometimes we go, oh, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be rude to that person, so I don't want to push them too much. But I had an experience myself about 6 months ago where I had to get through to someone to have a really difficult conversation. And I think they were, perhaps not ready to have that conversation, but we needed to have that conversation. And so I remember I phoned them. I sent them an email that I'd phoned, and then I waited a few days, didn't hear back. And then I called them on their cell phone, left a message on their cell phone, and then I sent a text. So 5 points of contact. About a minute later, they texted back to me and explained all about what was going on to them. But for some reason, they hadn't replied to all the others. I think they saw them. In fact, with my email tracking software, I know that they did see some of that stuff going on. But for whatever reason, they weren't ready to engage. And you're so right in your book about this multi-channel, multi-touch approach and how it raises us up in their consciousness, and suddenly we stand out from everybody else.
Yeah, so I think it's partly about breaking that pattern interrupt, right? So the way that we receive communication now is very predictable. So if I get a sales email, if someone's trying to pitch me for lead generation services or for, to sell me a list, or to sell me SEO, and I'm sure everybody on this call gets those same emails. They all look the same.
Oh, right? No, I haven't been passing them on, Mark.
So if they all look the same, what should we do? If we were selling those services, the thing that you would do would be making sure your email or your outreach was significantly different.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, because what happens if you delete? So Mary, let's say somebody sends you one of those emails or two of those emails. What happens if you delete them?
Nothing. Well, nothing exploded.
Absolutely nothing.
I do actually delete. Okay, I thought I was going to say, have I done something bad to my computer?
No. So if nothing happens, there's no downside, right? So we've learned to not respond because there's no downside. So you have to pattern interrupt. You have to have a system and process in place where people go, well, this is not the same pattern that I would normally, someone would approach me with. Therefore, they're different. Therefore, if they're different, and their message is different and their approach is different, my response is probably going to be different. And if you've got a conversation topic that's important to me, then there's a much higher chance that I'm going to answer that outreach.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I see you've got a few questions there, Mary. My eyesight's no good. Do you want to read them out?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, look at those questions that have been flooding in. Thank you, everybody. Fiona, this is a good question. Thank you, Fiona. I'll read this out. Fiona says, what software would you recommend, if any, that could be a one-stop shop for attacking people via email, text, phone, etc.? So one software that will do all of this outbound approach for us potentially is, I think, what Fiona might be asking here.
Okay, this is a great question.
Yeah.
Great question. First of all, don't like the word attacking, because we're not attacking at all. And I think this whole hunter, like I'm hunting prospects, I'm hunting, leads, has got a challenge because it puts you against your prospect. And I think in today, we need to be partnering up. We need to be in a situation where we're considered to be trusted advisors. It's a cliche, I know, but partnered with, working alongside, working together with our clients. And I think if you take that type of language into a prospective meeting, so into a prospect meeting or a client meeting, people can really tell. So like when we work together, we get these types of results. But to answer the question, Outreach is probably the number one. Outreach.io. VanillaSoft is very good. SalesLoft is not too bad either. And one of my clients has just rolled out Ring DNA. So they're probably the early ones. But my advice would be to do it manually first, see what works, and then scale. Start with 5 people. And build out your cadence and send 5. Do 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. See what works and what doesn't work. Because if you go straight to automation, you start to miss people's personas, you start to miss their profile, you start to miss their pain points, and you've then become spam. And that's why the second pillar of prospecting, what is it, Mary? Can you remember? I'm testing you.
Oh dear me.
Okay, it's smarter. It's smarter targeting.
Oh, okay.
Smarter targeting.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm back in my I have read your book, but basically I've just come here happy to chat, so I haven't taken to put all my.
That's
notes.
Okay. So it's all about smarter targeting, right?
Yeah,
so if you're reaching out to head of HR, there's automatically going to be some of those communication channels that won't work. Yes. So you can't take all 7 or 8 communication channels and apply them to every ICP. Right.
Oh, I agree with that too. Yeah, you've actually got and I guess too, things like some of these communication channels have a particular time when you use them. So for instance, I probably wouldn't send a text message to a CEO first off, but I would keep it in my arsenal of tools that I could pull out for maybe if it was hard getting through, you know? Yeah. Although you might have another thought on that as well, Mark.
Yeah, well, if you go to LinkedIn and have a look at my LinkedIn profile, I actually posted a how to send a text on your first touch today. I didn't know you were going to bring that up. So,
goodness.
There you go.
Read that. That would be a good one. Thank you.
But to give you the shortcut, basically, you know, if I call you and you don't answer, which I wouldn't expect you to because you wouldn't know my number, I may or may not leave a voicemail. That's a different topic. But I could send you a text message with my contact card, my professional contact card that had a photo of me that looks exactly like I look on LinkedIn, and all my contact details, so my mobile phone number, my LinkedIn profile, everything there. And I could say, "Hey, Mary, completely understand you're not picking up from a number that you don't know. Here's my contact details. I'm going to reach out over the next couple of weeks. Can't wait to chat. Best, Mark." Wow,
I completely love that.
Everybody's
going to go on your LinkedIn page after this, Mark.
Yeah, well, the full script's there. So there you go. That was my latest post.
Oh well, shall we answer this question from? Have we answered Fiona's question enough? We've talked about a few kinds of software. We've talked about you saying, look, it's really good to get your process right manually so that you don't miss the nuances of the different personas that you've got.
Yeah.
Shall we answer the next question? And then I know you were going to share a little bit about LinkedIn potentially, or?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Would that be an idea? So Nick, I'll read this out for everybody. Nick says, it's not always easy to have all channels to take a multi-channel approach. Yeah, that's true. Nick says, what do you suggest to break the email LinkedIn pattern up?
Okay, it's not always easy to have all channels available. Yes, okay. So the reason why the tactical pipeline system works so well is because it removes the emphasis of any one thing, right? Yes. So we're reaching out across multiple channels, okay, multiple times. Okay, so if we can't use LinkedIn, for example, let's say you're selling to construction, no LinkedIn profiles. And if they've got LinkedIn profiles, they're not there.
And they're not messaging either, are they? No.
Yeah, that's right. So you've still got direct mail, text message, telephone, voicemail, email, reply email, content email, video messaging. Yeah. Okay. And it just means that social media is not going to be that great. Whereas, you know, if you're talking about head of HR, they're not going to answer their telephone. I know. I've sold to head of HR,
they won't,
right, for forever. So I sell my services into head of L&D at large organisations, you know, like ASX top 200.
Yeah,
they don't answer. So telephone, voicemail, text messages out. So you have to go direct mail, email, video. You know, you have to come up with other plans. Certainly, social works. So the first thing that the second part of the second pillar is, of course, building out that ICP so that you know which channels to use. So one approach won't fit all, but you know, if you use enough tools, you'll still be able to get across.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in fact, I'll just give everybody a sneak peek. Now, if you buy Mark's book, we're not saying you have to buy Mark's book, but if you do feel inspired at the end of this and you decide you want to see what this is all about, this is the sort of stuff you'll get. No, they're not hieroglyphics. They're not, but they're wonderful little diagrams that will talk you through a whole bunch of cadences and systems that you can use for different situations, and email templates and conversation guidelines as well. So there's a lot that can help you. Yeah.
And to answer, go back to Fiona's, you know, what software do we use? You buy the book for $29 Australian or whatever it is, and it'll go piece by piece to build out your entire plan. The software that you're going to use is going to cost you $60 a month. So you buy the book first. If you can't make it work manually by going through the step-by-step process, it's definitely not going to work in the software tool. So you're going to save yourself a bunch of money by buying the book. See how I did that?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was all right. What I loved about your book too, though, was I was expecting you to be pushing outreach or sales loss or something like that all through your book, because some of those sales books actually do. And you kind of get the feeling you can't do it properly unless you've got the very top level software. And I know on this call today, we've got people at enterprise level, and then we've got other people right at the other end of the spectrum who are solopreneurs running their own business. And everybody's here today because we're chief revenue officer in some capacity. And what I love about your book is it's really about getting the discipline and the patterns right. And you could actually excel at this even without good software, because you're going to develop the right discipline and the right, I suppose, confidence levels to actually proceed with this whole thing.
Yes. Yeah. So most of my clients would not be running enterprise-based software here in Australia, so that they'd be doing it manually.
Yeah.
Ironically, since I started writing and talking about this book, lots of people that have this software have asked me to come into their organization and write cadences to fit the software to run, because the cadences that come with the software are typically just, email in the morning, phone call in the afternoon. Like that's a typical US cadence, which doesn't really work here in the APAC. Yep.
No. Okay. Well, shall I let you, now, do I have to swap the screen share, or do I have to make you the host? Let's have a check. Are you
I didn't prepare any notes. So I'm sorry. I didn't prepare any slides, but I prepared notes.
That's fine. No worries, Mark. We'd rather see your face anyway. There we go. Yeah.
So, so based on our little pre-chats, of course, Mary, I've really enjoyed. We've had probably 4 or 5 interactions over the last month or so that have been fun, and I based what I wanted to share today around LinkedIn off some of those conversations, because I remember you saying, at one point you said, I'm not sure that we're that pushy here in New Zealand.
I know. I wasn't wanting to be rude, but the whole thing of tagging someone into a conversation when I don't know very well, I kind of go, oh, is that rude? Could I do that? I think it works, but could I do it? Yeah. It was interesting.
So I wanted to give everybody on the call today some things that they could do that I think they'd feel comfortable doing that might help them drive a stronger level of conversion and conversation using LinkedIn in particular. These strategies work also outside of LinkedIn. So, whether they'll be text message or whether you're on the telephone or whatever the case may be, but it's just easy to demonstrate on LinkedIn. So what I know for a fact is that on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you'll find the same, is that typically requests come 2 ways, right? Or maybe 3. You'll get a connection request and a request inside that connection. Hey, Mary, let's connect, and you can, check out my whatever, or please buy, or we host, we're the best. Or the other one would be they send you a connection request, and then almost immediately after you accept it, you seem to get a automated request to take some time in their diary for whatever it is that they're selling, right?
Yes.
And so these things are working against us, because what they're doing is they're creating this mindset that it's hard to ask for somebody to do something on LinkedIn, because there's so many fake requests coming through, that we are challenged by the quality of time that we spend on LinkedIn, whether it's worth our while. When in actual fact, it's a great tool, and you know exactly where your perfect customers are, what they look like, how many staff they've got. You can make a really good decision about whether you're a perfect fit for somebody in that space or not.
Yes.
And so what I've found is that by asking permission to proceed, by slowing down the sales process, you can actually speed it up.
Yeah.
Okay. And because we are now all focused on how can digital software make things faster for us, how can we scale something, right? We're always looking to remove steps. And that's why we've ended up now where people are sending us connection requests with a link to their calendar, hey, let's connect, and maybe you'd like to, have a look at my services. Let's get 15 minutes for a discovery call. You know, I don't know how many of those are successful, very low, I would suspect. And of course, none of us want to be seen as that person. We don't want to be spammy. We don't want to be spooky, you know, because the other side of it, of course, is, hey, Mary, I see you went to this school and you were once married to this person. And, you know,
no, yes,
and then you're like, oh my God, this person knows so much about me. So
Mm.
and on the other extreme, if we don't ask at all, what happens? We spend a whole bunch of time on LinkedIn or you know, prospecting, and we have very little to show for it as a result.
Yeah.
So that frustrates us as individuals, and it frustrates our bosses if you've got one, because they'll be saying, Mark, get off LinkedIn. All you're doing is sending messages on LinkedIn. Get on the phone and sell something. And that helps create that divide. So by slowing things down and asking permission, it creates an opportunity for you to get somebody to say to you, you know what, Mark, that makes sense. Let's have a conversation. And so the overarching mindset around it is, instead of sending somebody a link, what can we use as an example? Let's say you've got a white paper, right?
Yes.
Instead of saying, hey, Mary, look, I see you're in sales and you're obviously very knowledgeable and you know all about sales. Would you like a white paper or a summary of my new book? Let's use that as an example. All right. And I'd say, here it is, right? And I send you the link, you know, or I send it as a text. Thanks for connecting. Love to be, because you're in sales, I thought you might like this white paper. Here it is, right? That worked great in 2015. But now everyone knows that's a lead magnet.
Oh, yeah. Well, 5 years is a long time in sales at the moment, isn't it? 5 years is almost like 50 years ago in terms of how things have moved. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying now is slow down and ask. So if you go, hey, Mary, thanks for connecting. Pleased to be connected to another sales guru. A lot of sales gurus I'm connected with are focusing on prospecting right now. I'd be happy to share a summary of my book or a white paper that we've done if you're interested. That's it. And I find that I'm actually getting triple the amount of people from my clients to saying, yes, actually send that through. So the response rates are three times higher just by adding that extra step. And if you do it via video, so if you use one of those video tools like Bonjoro or Vidyard, where I was actually just recording my face here on their LinkedIn. So if I've got your LinkedIn page, Mary, I see your LinkedIn profile. I say, hey, Mary, thanks for connecting. Great to have another sales pro in the network. One of the things people like to get off me as a connection bonus is the white paper that we've written recently. Let me know if that's something you're interested in. Either way, very pleased to have you in the network. And what I find, and lots of people then will say, yeah, Mark, please send it through. So, and it's all about giving people the control of the conversation rather than feeling like having it snapped away.
That's interesting, because I've found too, I haven't done that so much internally with LinkedIn with messaging, but when I connect to someone after I've talked to them, I'll send them a connection request and then I'll send them an email and say, it was great to have the conversation with you just now. I've sent you an invite to my LinkedIn network where I like to post a couple of times a week about sales and business development. In any case, I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation and da-da-da. And then I find most of those people accept the connection request, again, because what you're saying is you've respected them, haven't you?
Yeah. So I wonder, instead of sending them the connection, the link, if you said, would you like a link to my, what is it? Is it your group?
Well, no. Basically, it's I'm sending them an email. I've had a conversation with them, and then it's going into LinkedIn, sending them a connection request. In the connection request, saying it's been great talking to you just now, but in the email saying, hey, Mark, I've sent you a connection request where I like to post on LinkedIn a couple of times a week about sales and business development. You're welcome to accept. In any case, I'm looking forward to da-da-da-da-da. And so it kind of means if you don't connect to me, you won't miss out on the value, but it leaves it open. And I found that helped me to get a lot more people connecting. It's a similar principle, I think, maybe.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm really enjoying now is any of those LinkedIn connections. I just grab a quick screen, LinkedIn communications. I grab a screenshot and jam that into my email. Yeah. So if we've been swapping messages on LinkedIn and then we go to email, I just grab the last exchange and stick that into the body of the email as a quick picture and go, hey, just continuing this. It makes that really easy. So people don't forget where you are. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So Yeah, so the concept is if you can just ask if they'd like to get access, what you find is people feel much more in control. They say, yeah, I'd love to get that piece of paperwork. I'd love to join that group. You know, and you go, okay, no problem. And the reason why we're trying to make it, one of the reasons we're trying to make that, it looks like it's making it harder, but we're introducing extra steps is because of a thing called frequency of exchange. Do you know what that is?
Is that more times you're touching them, kind of building more rapport, that kind of thing?
Yep. The more times we communicate without there being any requirement for reciprocity, any requirement for you to give me something, okay, then the safer I am to you. And so the more pieces of communication we can exchange very quickly, the more likely your defenses are going to be down and see me as neutral when I come into your inbox.
Yeah. Which is very powerful because, again, you've got to differentiate yourself from those other 127 emails in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So the gaining permission piece is really important. What if you don't have that? What else could you do? So one of the other things that I train that works really well is use this phrase or work to get this phrase. Because you said X, I'm suggesting we should do this. Right. So if you see somebody has liked something on LinkedIn, or they've accepted a connection request, or, you know, and you can say, look, because you've done this, because I saw that you liked that post, made sense that I send you, or I thought you might like whatever it is that you want to send them. Again, because people will want to be consistent with what they've previously said or done. And if you can,
yes, of course.
If you can highlight that what it is that they've done of their own free will, okay, then people are more likely to say yes to that second request. So if you say, oh, look, I noticed that you liked an article on sales leadership, you know, because you like that, I thought I'd offer you access to our sales leadership website, white paper. Would that be something you'd be interested in? So this is what I'm trying to do here is give people confidence to be able to reach out and start a conversation that's asking for something that still they can feel like they're not selling their soul and not being pushy, because we need to have the right to ask. But what I'm hearing from a few conversations is that people don't want to be perceived as being unethical. They don't, which is fine. I don't want people to be unethical, you know, or manipulative. But how can you have a system and process in place when you're busy and you're working on a lot of things to get that permission to ask?
Yeah. Oh no, it is brilliant. In fact, I saw a little cartoon actually on Facebook quite a while ago. A person said, this is what these Zoom calls are reminding me of. And it was a picture of all the Muppets rode up. You know, all the Muppets. Did you ever watch the Muppets? And I do think that here we are, we're all rode up. You can see all these people's pictures on LinkedIn, but you've got to figure out, how can I throw my paper dart over to you so that we could actually start conversing, even though there's still a geographic distance? And that's really what I think one of the great things that your book is very helpful for.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, look, I think it's really important that you have a strategy to be able to ask for what it is that you need. So we all know that if you don't ask, you don't get. And in a lot of cases, people need guidance to buy, because anytime you're taking money out of your wallet, you're always thinking about, is it the right thing? Should I not do? I mean, you go to the supermarket, right? And you're looking at tins of tomato, you know, it's 74 cents and 84 cents. You're like, what's the difference?
I think it's 10 cents. A bit of value over there.
I don't go to the supermarket, but but you know what I mean? Like, so every purchasing decision, like, I mean, these pens, you know, these pens in Officeworks, I love them. They're about $4.50. But every time I buy one, I'm like, oh, do I really need a $4.50 pen? You know, and it's literally $4.50. And if you're going to ask, if your product's worth more than $4.50, people are still going to go through the same, is it good value? Should I spend it? Is there something else that I can do? So people need a hand to make a decision. They need to feel confident that what they're doing is the right thing. Now, it could very well be that there's 10 people in the Southern Hemisphere that could train someone on outbound selling as well as what I could. But if someone feels more confident with me than somebody else, then they're going to hire me.
Oh, it's absolutely true. Yeah. People always need someone they know. And if they thought that you might know the right person, then they go to you as well. Who do you recommend, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I had a couple of other strategies that I wanted to share.
Oh,
One of my favorites is I'm not sure if it's for you. Okay, so I stole this one from Phil M. Jones. If you don't know Phil, check him out. He's very, very good. He's got a couple of good books. He'd be perfect for your next book launch, actually. Exactly what to say.
I've been reading books for a while, I think, yes. I'm not sure if it's for you. You know, if you said that to me, I would immediately go, oh, don't take it away till I know if I want it.
That's exactly right. That's the strategy. So you say, look, I'm not sure if this is for you, but people in your situation typically want to have a quick chat before we do this, or people in your situation might want to have a read of a white paper, or people like you might want to get access to some testimonials from other clients. So instead of so this is the part of the gaining permission piece. So instead of just saying, here's some testimonials on clients just like yours, you say, I'm not sure if it's for you. People like you would typically want access to some testimonials. So I forgot which example I was using there for a sec.
Yeah.
So again, that gives the buyer or the person on the other side of the communication that feeling of control. I can either say no or I can say yes, but what they are going to think is it's called prospect theory. Hang on, I'm missing out on something if I don't say yes. So that's a persuasion strategy, prospect theory. It's super important.
And immediately, like when you said that, I was like, oh gosh, I've got to listen to what comes next because I really might want it and he could be about to take that away. So immediately that would wake you up a bit too, wouldn't it?
It would. Yeah.
Oh, wow. What's your other thoughts there, Mark?
So the other one is, of course, if you've got people that you think might be really keen to say no, give them an easy way to say no. And by that, it's you go, this might be a dumb question or this might be a silly idea. How would you praise that? So is it a silly idea if I sent you a white paper? No, Mark, that's not a silly idea. You should definitely send that to me. Is it a silly idea that we should book another meeting to talk about this in more detail? So you flip it. Instead of like always asking for the yes, you actually ask for the no.
Okay. I thought you were saying clear them out so they're not clogging your pipeline up, but that's another discussion.
Well, kind of, but yeah. So you get, is it a silly idea that we book another meeting? So people are just often trying to think about how can I say no, and no, that's not a silly idea. So then people feel, again, it's about giving people control of the conversation so that they can get that no out. They can say no, and feel comfortable. Or they might say, yes, that's a completely silly idea, Mark. I don't want to talk to you at all.
They'd probably laugh too. If they had to say that. Oh, very good. Wow. Oh.
So look, there's a couple of permission-based conversation starters that I thought might help you and your audience, or your audience in particular, that you could use really powerfully on LinkedIn.
I'm always open for more tips, because I think the minute you say, I don't need to learn anymore, you have to read the heading of your chapter on page 19, change or die. None of us can say, I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't have any more learning, because actually it's changing around us so much, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I still spend 12 to 15 hours every week, like reading, training, learning. So
I think you have to do something. Yeah, definitely.
It's moving so fast.
It is.
Is there questions? There's a bunch of stuff I can see popping up.
So we've got Tracy. Okay. We've got, actually I'll read Fiona. Fiona says, thank you. Awesome. I was thinking there may have been a specific software, but so pleased I don't need to go straight out and grab a software to run with it. There you go. We've just saved you money, Fiona. Excellent. So Tracy, welcome, Tracy. Tracy says, hi, Mark. In your mind, when is a first phone call not deemed a cold call? A conversation I had today with someone else in sales. So that's almost a when is a cold call, not a cold call. When is a first phone call not a cold call? What do you think, Mark? I've got some thoughts, but what do you think on that one?
Look, the answer is there's no answer. So, I'll share with that. I worked with Coca-Cola in its new business department for quite some time, and they call a cold call when they call customers who haven't ordered for 85 days or more. So if you've got a client that works at Thredbo, which of course is our pathetic ski fields here in Australia, and that they're only open for a couple of months a year, but when it comes around to re-engaging that outlet to take Coca-Cola, they call that internally a cold call. In my mind, that's an account reactivation call. So everybody has this hang up about cold calls. It depends where you want to label it. But I think any time you've got real relevance, it's not a cold call at all, because the person on the other end of the phone probably wants to hear what you've got to say. And if you're just leading with, hey, can I have 15 minutes of your time so I can learn about your business so that I can sell you something? That's a cold call. And that doesn't matter whether I've had an introduction from Mary or not. But if I have a phone call that says, hey, Mark, we've been working with management consultants in Australia about the same size as you. We know they've got these 3 challenges right now: how to get their training online, how to keep their people engaged, and how to book reoccurring income. Is that something you'd be interested in learning about? I'm like, yeah, let's have a chat right now. So whether that's a cold call or not. So it's all about relevance. If you can't prove relevance, it's a cold call. If you're relevant, it's not a cold call at all.
And I think too, my thought would be, with the internet, so much knowledge out there, you can probably find a wealth of information in 10 or even 20 minutes, and there'll be something in there that will be a hook to turn it a bit warm and to give you that relevance that you need to break through, really, won't there?
Yes, yeah. So, and I mean, even just on LinkedIn, it's very easy to find a second connection now. Just get into the rhythm of sending a few messages. Hey, Mary, do you know Mark? I wanted to have a chat to Mark. I see you're connected with him on LinkedIn. How well do you know him? Would you be comfortable with an introduction? And yes, you might have to send 4 of those out. But, it also opens up communication. If we're in sales, if we're growing our business, whether we be an entrepreneur, you have to be into communication. You have because conversations.
Got to love people.
Conversations create opportunities. Opportunities create sales, right? So without conversations, you're not going to get any sales. So starting 4 conversations by saying, hey, do you know Mark? Do you know Mark? Do you know Mark? No. Why do you ask? Okay. Maybe you'll get a different answer. Maybe you'll have a different conversation. But, that's one way.
Definitely. Now I can see another question in there. So hello, Anita. Anita says, would you combine those 2 things? I think Anita is probably referring to the conversation about the LinkedIn introduction lines. So, i.e., because you said X, I'm suggesting Y. Would you be interested in me sending it? So that's basically putting the 2 of those together. Would you do that?
Yeah, so they'll work independently or they'll work together. So yeah, because you like this article, would you be interested in receiving a white paper about something with a deeper level of detail around that same topic, for example? Yep, absolutely. And I think people will really appreciate the fact that you've asked rather than just said, hey, here's a link to a white paper, because I think a lot of people miss this. When I send you a link to a white paper, which is 4 pages long and takes 10 minutes to read, I'm literally asking you to invest 10 minutes. So I had a gentleman who I hope doesn't listen, is not on here. There's low chance of that. Sent me a podcast on Sunday, and he said, hey, Mark, I see you're in the sales space. Here's a podcast I did recently with XYZ. It's 45 minutes long.
Okay.
So, I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I listen to a lot of podcasts about sales. So what could have he done better? So in order for me to feel obligated to answer him, we need to build a feeling of reciprocity, right? Yes. That I need to reciprocate. So the best way for him to do that would be to be timely, personal, and perceived as valuable. So what he could have done is said, Mark, here's a podcast I did recently. Here's where I think here are the 2 important topics that I think we talk about that are particularly relevant for you. So could have said, because you're a sales trainer in Australia, I think you'll like this, particularly this point. Yes. And to make it valuable, skip through to the 25-minute mark where you'll see we talk about those 2 points in detail. Now I owe you a response.
Well, now he's just shortened your runtime, hasn't he, Mark? While you're listening to that podcast, if you go running. Yes. Oh, that's good. Yeah, definitely.
So it's not what you send, it's how you send it.
It is. And it's coming back again and again, isn't it, to all those old personal skills, which really, that's why we've been hired as salespeople. That's what we're here for,
Yeah.
Now, see, we're coming up to time. So what we'll do is we've answered all the questions, which is wonderful. we're just going to go on to a couple of final slides. We always at Sales War Chest, we always give a last word to Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister for most of World War II, Prime Minister of Great Britain. And he's famous for a lot of his special sayings, a lot of his very gutsy, very gritty sort of sayings. And I normally just give Winston one saying, but then I found two and I thought, my goodness, did Winston Churchill actually invent the multi-channel, multi-touch approach? So for a bit of fun, Winston Churchill on the multi-channel approach: we shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches, channel 1, fight on the landing grounds, number 2, fight in the fields and the streets, that's 4, fight in the hills, 5. So he's definitely got a multi-channel approach going there, hasn't he? We shall never surrender. So he's determined and he's got the right mindset to break through. And then, so the next saying from Winston, multi-touch approach. Can you see all this? I'll check with you, Mark. Can you see these?
Yep, yeah, we can see this.
Oh, good. So what Winston's talking about, making an important point. If you have an important point to make, don't try to be subtle or clever. Use a pile driver. I think that's a bit much, but anyway, want to get that point across. Hit the point once, then come back and hit it again, then hit it a third time, a tremendous whack. So that's very much the phone call, email, text message, whatever your cadence is for that situation. And I hope after this that if anybody is uncertain about anything in these uncertain times, or you just want to talk more about sales and business development, do reach out. So we've got Mark from Mark McInnes Sales Training. Email mark@markmick.co. Got a LinkedIn profile there. You've got a mobile. You can ring Mark's mobile and he will pick up because I've done that. So that works. You're welcome to contact myself, Mary at Magnify Consulting. There's some detail in there. And if you want to find a bit more info about Mark's book, you can go onto Mark's website. You're welcome to look on the Magnify blog where we've got the review of Mark's book. And here we are at the end of this week's this month's Sales War Chest. Special thanks to Mark for writing such a wonderful book and agreeing to come on Sales War Chest today. And thank you everybody for being part of Sales War Chest today.
Thanks, Mary. Really appreciate it. It's great for to come and have a chat about the book, and I love it that tactical pipeline growth's written around the military sort of thing, and you've got that. Yeah. The Sales War Chest. It's just such a great alignment. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.